It's totally fine. I have a lot more stories.
That you do.
Yeah.
That you do.
Guilty as charged with the stories.
Hello, everyone. Chris Whiting here. Thank you so much for listening to I've Got Something to Say. Really appreciate you first-time listeners, repeat listeners. This is a time when you get to listen to me tell a story about my life. It may be meaningful. It may not. You might like it. You might turn this off right now. I don't know. But I'm going to tell the story, and you are welcome to listen. This week's edition is called Unintended Raccoon-sequences. As an 11-year-old boy, I decided to join the Boy Scouts of America. Now, this was not an out-of-the-blue decision. I had been a Cub Scout, spent about a year and a half as a Weeblo, which to this day is just one of the funniest names for an organization I've ever come across, and joined the Boy Scouts. And for the most part, it was fun. But what made me nervous, because I think you're 11 and a half when you join the Boy Scouts, is that scout camp was necessary if you wanted to get your Eagle, because you had to go, and that's where you earned the majority of your merit badges. But the thing about scout camp was it was 10 days long, away from your parents, hanging out in the woods, and I wasn't so sure about that. And I vividly remember the night before I was going to my first scout camp, I was sitting by my window because I couldn't sleep, and there was a huge thunderstorm. And I stayed up all night and just watched the thunder and watched the lightning, listened to the thunder, saw the rain come down, and just sat there and thought, I don't know if I'm going to survive for 10 days without my mommy and my daddy. And I was really super scared. The good news for me was I was bunking with my grade school best friend, Stevie. So at least I had some kind of comfort in that I knew the person that I was going with. So we go down to camp, and kind of getting over the nerves, just interested to check out things, see what they're like. What was super cool was Stevie brought a ton of snacks. So M&Ms and Snickers and chips. And I mean, his camp box was loaded with snacks. So we were set up with that. So I was pretty excited. There were lots of new things to experience. You had the older boys responsible for making sure that you went to your classes and got your merit badges. The Tribe of Mikasay was something I was introduced to, which is this honors camping program. It's really a great school in cultural appropriation, I guess, where you come down and it's modeled after a Native American tribe. And so the idea is you get the boys interested, and they keep coming down to camp every year because they might be called to be a member of the tribe. So you get called to be a foxman, and then the next year, if you do good, you become a brave, and then you become a warrior, and then you can get paint on your claws. So it's this whole thing to keep you interested and in coming back and in teaching you good citizenship and leadership skills, and really a great program. But so I was looking at that going, okay, that might be interesting to me. I'm earning my merit badges, getting used to camp food. They probably don't allow this anymore, but this is a very vivid memory from my first year at camp. We just had open showers up by the swimming pool. So, I mean, they were enclosed, but it was just a bunch of shower heads coming out of the wall. So it was boys and leaders, and everybody would be in there taking showers together, naked. And I remember when they played taps at night, if you were part of the tribe, you had to kneel. And I was in the shower one night, and they played taps, and all of these leaders kneeled. And I don't know if you've ever been behind a naked man who's down on one knee kneeling, but it's not the most aesthetic look. I'll put it that way. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching these guys that look like they got bubble gum hanging down between their legs, just mortified. But that's what we did back in the day. It's probably different now. But Stevie and I were tearing through his snacks at a pretty good pace. And we got this bright idea that maybe we would leave some out on the floor of our tent and see if we could attract a raccoon to come in the tent so we could see it at night. So, so we decided, the first night we put out like some M&Ms or something. Nothing came in, or maybe it did, but then we had fallen asleep. So, and the tents, I should say, it was like a wooden platform that was up off the ground, and then it had short walls on the side, like maybe 2 feet high. So you've got like a little wooden box, and then it's canvas coming up to like a pitched tent roof. So it's canvas with a wood frame and floor on the bottom. So we put, little treats out on the floor, trying to entice a raccoon to come in so we could look at it. So the next night we put it out, and we're laying there and we're talking, just kind of whispering back and forth. I've got my cot against one side, he's got his on the other, and then in the middle are our little treats. That's the bait. And as we're talking, something scurries up into our tent, and we look down, and I don't think it's a raccoon because it was black with white stripes down its back. And there was a skunk eating the M&Ms off of our floor. Now, he and I were petrified. So thank God we laid there, and I remember staring across at him, and he's staring at me, and I can just see the fear in the whites of his eyes, which I'm sure is what he saw with me. We're both, terrified that we're going to get squirted by this skunk, and then the leaders are going to take us back up to that shower room and, douche us with tomato juice or whatever you do to kids that have been sprayed by a skunk. And that sucker hung around for what seemed like minutes. I don't know how long it was in there, but it ate all the M&Ms, and then it left. So, thank God nothing happened to us, but we were terrified. And the next day we're like, okay, we're not going to put out any more treats because we don't want to get sprayed by a skunk. That would stink. So, little side story, speaking of stinking, the tents had flaps on either end. You could stand up inside the tent. There was enough room. And I had thrown one of the flaps back, and I was peeing out the back of our tent one day. Well, Stevie thought it would be funny to take the flap and throw it down while I was peeing. So he threw it down, and then I'm peeing all over the flap of the tent. It was hilarious. And let me tell you, urine-soaked canvas that sits out in the 100-degree sun does not smell good. So the rest of that camp, we didn't have skunk smell, but we had crisp, dried, baked urine smell, and it was not good at all. So a couple of nights later, we're done putting the bait out. We already smell like stinky pee in our tent. I'm laying there, kind of drifting off to sleep at night, and I wake up with kind of a start because I feel something on my chest. And I look up, and the raccoon that we had hoped would come in our tent a couple of nights before was in our tent and was up on top of me. And it sounds comical, silly. Oh, it's a cute little raccoon. I cannot tell you the terror that I felt, even more than when the skunk was in our tent on the floor. I could feel the weight of this raccoon on me. And it's kind of up on its back legs, kind of looking around, making little sounds and stuff. And I am sitting there, laying there, and my face is exposed. And all I can think is this thing is going to ravage my face. Oh, dear God. So I tried to be very still with my breathing. I wasn't going to say anything. I wanted to yell for help, but I was afraid it would pounce on me. So I waited it out. And I thought the skunk stayed in our tent a long time. Oh, my gosh, this raccoon, it felt like an hour. And I was just in mortal terror the entire time. He did nothing. He kind of looked around and walked around on top of me and then hopped down and took off out of our tent. So I don't know if the urine attracted him or made him run away. But I was just so glad. A couple of bullets dodged there at Scout Camp. A few. We didn't get sprayed by a skunk. I didn't get attacked by a raccoon. and no leaders did anything inappropriate in the shower. So overall, I would say Scout Camp was a success. Had lots of other adventures there that we might revisit at another time. But for now, we're going to say that does it for this edition of I've Got Something to Say. Thanks so much for listening. Always a pleasure to share these stories with you. Huge thanks to KCTK Radio, my good buddy Paul, for making this happen, producing, putting these together, getting these out to you, the loyal listener. Thank you so much. Can't wait to talk to you again.